Welcome to this lesson on the SUMIF formula from Microsoft Excel. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use the SUMIF formula to get the sum total of numeric data that fits specific criteria in a range of information. Now that's a very abstract way of talking about this formula, so let's talk about the formula's purpose and look at a specific example. The purpose of the SUMIF formula is to get the sum total of a subset of data in a data set based on a specific search or match criteria. For example, I was working on a project that I was tagging emails. So I had student email addresses, column A. I had the type of email that the student sent in column B, and the number of emails associated with that thread in column C. Well, SUMIF allows me to add elements of column C, the number of emails sent, but to find the sum specifically for the email type. For instance, I could count up the total number of student service emails and leave out all of the other categories. As with all Microsoft Excel formulas, syntax is incredibly vital because your formula is not going to work if you don't have the proper syntax. That's why I've included the syntax for SUMIF as the header for this part of the presentation. As with all Microsoft Excel formulas, you need to start off with an equal sign. And if this is your first exposure to Microsoft Excel formulas, make sure to check out our basic lesson on Microsoft formula syntax. Now for SUMIF, of course, you're going to want to use SUMIF. Now the components of SUMIF, first of all, are range. And this first range is actually what's called the criteria range. This is the information that you're looking for, or the information or the search criteria that you want to base your sum off of. After the comma comes the criteria. And this can either be a cell reference, or this can be the specific name, date, or number that you're looking for. And the last component is the sum range. This is the range of the numeric data that you actually want to add. So basically, this is your search criteria, what the criteria actually is, and then what row of information you're referencing in order to get your sum total. So going back to our earlier example, email addresses, email types, and number and thread, let's say I want to figure out how many total emails student x@y.com sent. Well, the nomenclature for that would be equals SUMIF, the criteria range, so where I'm looking for to match my search criteria, and this is column A. So you see I have string A, string 2, to string A, string 208, because the spreadsheet goes down to row 208. Now, if you're not familiar with the string symbol in syntax, you want to check out the lesson on fixed cell reference, mixed cell reference, and relative cell reference. So the next thing is the criteria, or what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for the emails coming from student x@y.com. So this ensures that the search is going to look for that specific student email and ignore all the others. And then the sum range here is column C, C2 through C208. So what this formula is going to do is going to find every instance of x@y.com and going to add to the sum total the number of emails in the thread in column C. Let's look at this formula in action from the project that I told you about. So here we have a spreadsheet of student emails. Student emails are in column A, column B is the category. Column C is just some specific information on each email, and column D is the number of emails in the thread from each student. Well, as you can see in F6, I've set up the different types of emails that were found throughout this analysis. And again, there are 208 rows of information here, which is way too much to add up manually. But I do want to know how many emails there are for each specific type. So to do this, we'll use our SUMIF formula. So remember our syntax, equals sign, SUMIF. Now the nice thing about some of the later versions of Excel is they actually prompt you for the specific components that you need, which is really nice. Well, remember first we need our criteria range. So we want the emails by type, and that's going to be column B. So we'll put in our information, string B, string 2 through string B, string 208, because that's our total criteria range. The first criteria is going to be student service emails, so we'll put in student service, and then our sum range, which is string D, string 2 through string D, string 208. And so now we know from this list of information there are 51 student emails out of all of the other various types of emails. Alternatively, for this formula, we could use the cell reference. So since we have student service in F7, we could take out student service, simply replace that with F7, so it'll reference student service, and include that. And once we've done that, since our criteria range and our sum range are fixed cell references, and our criteria is a relative cell reference, we could simply copy and paste for the remainder of these, and now we've got the total for each category. And again, if you're not familiar with fixed cell references, relative cell references, and mixed cell references, please check out the lesson on that topic. Another way that I used that formula in this spreadsheet is I was curious about how many emails each student sent. So again, this is a perfect use of SUMIF. Syntax equals SUMIF, criteria range, and now since we're dealing with emails, we'll look back over and see our criteria range is actually column A. So we'll do column A, row 2, through column A, row 208. Our criteria is actually going to be the student email then, and we'll use the relative reference, cell L2, so we're picking up student1@email.com. And then our sum range is the same sum range, column D, so we'll input that information. And then again, we can simply copy-paste this through all 78 of our students. And now we've got a sum total list of how many emails each student sent. So anytime you have a complicated set of data and you want sum totals for a specific subset, the SUMIF formula is a great formula to use.